Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Right. First of all, I want to apologize to our viewing audience. For those of you who are on tonight, or if you watch this days later, those who you tuned in to the MBKCares page or my personal page expecting to see the Wellness Wednesday discussion, we're experiencing technical difficulties. Right now, we're recording live, and you're going to see this broadcast later on tonight. Still May 6th. It will be posted tonight. But I want to just welcome our guests at this time. This is Wellness Wednesday. My name is Isan Hines. I'm the president and founder of MBKCares. It's a nonprofit organization that I started in memory of my younger brother, Atif, who died from suicide. We have a Wellness Wednesday discussion every Wednesday at 6 p.m. to discuss mental health, physical fitness, diet, finances, motherhood, fatherhood, creative and performing arts, just different areas of life that impact all of us in positive and negative ways. But the goal of these meetings and these discussions is to find resources and hope that we can share with one another, and also to hopefully stop people from going out in some of the ways that our lives have been impacted by suicide. So tonight we're joined by some special guests. I have Stetler, Yolanda Johnson-Young, and Gabriel Nathan. And these people are special people. They all do some incredible things, and I'm going to let them all introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about what they do. We're going to start with the ladies, because tonight is about Mother's Day. Even though Mother's Day is this upcoming weekend, these two guests, Yolanda and Danette, were chosen to share specific stories, and I'll let them do the rest of the talking. So, Danette, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. So I'm Danette Stetler. I lost my son, Trent, in January of 2015. He was 20 years old, junior in college. And it came as a shock. We did not realize he was struggling. We had no idea he had any health issues, mental health issues. He was a lacrosse player and had gotten a couple concussions. And then when he went to college, played college rugby, and apparently had a concussion there. So we just don't know. We just don't know if that caused it or things had been brewing since he was young. So the year he died, his high school coach, his lacrosse high school coach, wanted to have a day in memory of him, and we raised funds to start a scholarship in his name. And that was 6 years ago, and a couple weeks ago would have been our 6th event. Unfortunately, due to the virus, we had to cancel it this year.
Yeah.
But what we're doing is giving scholarships to a boy and a girl lacrosse player in Trent's memory. But more importantly, we're doing programs in our community around mental health. We feel that it's really important to talk about it and start with these young people. So we do some programs in the high school, the middle school. We're trying to get into the elementary. We've done them at the YMCA, hope to do some more at the library. And really just to get the community, the children, parents, everybody just talking about mental health, looking out for one another, and just being informed and educated. That's one thing as a parent. We talked to our kids about drugs and alcohol and sex and didn't do enough about the mental health. So it's something that we really hope to change in our community and beyond.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I actually believe I met you all in succession. I met you, and then you actually invited me out to a program where I got a chance to meet this wonderful lady, Yolanda. So if you want, first of all, can I set you up a little bit?
Okay.
All right, so Janet Evans introduced me to Danette, and Danette had some tickets to see you at the Black Star Film Festival this past summer. We got a chance to see an incredible film. So I want you to tell us a little about yourself, your son, and about your film. But also remember, tonight we're also going to have a discussion with all of us, and Gabe has a great way to be able to get some information out of you ladies, or a conversation out of y'all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Yolanda Johnson-Young, and I'm the director of a short documentary, Finding Elijah. It's about my journey as a mom who lost her son, and I wanted answers. I wanted answers. I wanted to know, like, how could this have happened? And it set me on a journey that not only gave me some answers, it didn't give me all of the answers, it did give me some answers, but it also showed me that I could help other people too. So that was a big part of my healing, to do the film, and started to do some community screenings and some film festivals. But with the virus, it derailed all of that.
Yeah.
So I still don't have distribution yet, but I was able to link up with Glenn Holston from Fresh Fly Film Studio. And we were able to add 10 minutes to my already 15-minute piece. And it was just able to give people in the Black community a chance to see that it's okay to get the help that you need, because there's a taboo, unwritten law in the Black community. You don't call 302, you don't 302 them. But unfortunately, sometimes you have to call the police. Sometimes you have to make sure their mental health is okay. And just to remove that stigma for Black and brown people to go and get the help that they need is really, really my goal with the film, to open up the conversation so that people can understand that it's okay to get the help that you need.
It's a beautiful film. I had a chance to see it with Danette and with Janet last summer, and it's a beautiful film. I felt like I got to know your love for your son through watching that film, and got to know a lot of his personality too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brother Gabe.
That's me.
Yeah.
So, real briefly, I'm the editor-in-chief of a nonprofit mental health publication called OC87 Recovery Diaries. We feature personal essays about mental health recovery, and we do original documentary films in partnership with Fresh Fly, and they're all directed by Glenn Holston, who's just an incredible human being and a real gift to the Philadelphia filmmaking community. So that's what I do as a profession. I'm on the board of directors of Prevent Suicide PA. So it's a statewide organization that's devoted to awareness raising, advocacy, training, education, and outreach. And I recently released a film that I made called A Beautiful Day Tomorrow, Taking Suicide Awareness on the Road, that follows me and my 1963 VW Bug, which has the Lifeline number all over the rear window, on a trip up and down the East Coast, collecting stories of lost survivors, attempt survivors, and just talking to random people along the way in an effort to destigmatize suicide and generate conversations. The car is a great conversation starter. So it draws people in, they talk. So we filmed a lot of those encounters, and Fresh Fly put all of my garbage footage together and made a beautiful film out of it. So, like Yolanda was experiencing with regard to COVID-19 and film festivals, and this was hitting the fan just as I had a premiere scheduled at the County Theater in Doylestown and the Ambler. And we just went online with a premiere. And just yesterday I decided I'm just putting the whole film up on YouTube. I'm just kind of letting it go and letting it be whatever it wants to be, and letting people see it and experience it wherever and however they want. And that was not an easy decision. And I think there are moments where I regret it. But I think overall, Israel and took her and really changed the way we look at each other and look at this tragic act.
Hello? Can you all still hear me?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You all just get a glitch or something?
Yeah.
I did. You disappeared for a second, but you're
Yeah.
back.
Okay, I have no clue what just happened. That was a magic trick that I didn't.
Okay.
Brilliant. I loved it. You were just thunderstruck by what I had just said. I mean, how could anyone know how to respond to that rambling 2 minutes?
It wasn't rambling at all, man. I
Okay,
think
okay.
that I don't know if when you were describing your film, did you actually say how people can view it right now? Is there
So you can go right to YouTube and type in A Beautiful Day Tomorrow, or you can go to the website that I created for it. It's called abeautifuldaytomorrow.com.
yeah,
And the whole film is available for you to see.
yeah. And if anybody wants to know what that Volkswagen looks like, it's not like the Passats or anything that you could picture right now. It's the Herbie look from back in the day. Herbie,
Love bug.
Old
Yeah.
school, very old
Yeah.
school.
yeah,
Love bug.
Yes,
Yeah.
love bug.
yeah. I knew your car before I knew you. I took pictures in front of your car, but I actually got to meet you in person this past year. But I took pictures in front of your vehicle probably October of 2018.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that's right. I like that. I like having him center stage, and I'm kind of
He's
Yeah.
right
to the
next to
side.
center stage at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, their annual walk, the first week of October. I actually have
Yep.
on one of their shirts
Right
now.
on the steps.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're an excellent organization. AFSP Philly. All of us are affiliated with
Yep.
them in one way or another.
Mhm.
And yeah, they have a beautiful walk. Everyone on here is out there in some capacity. Danette has her team.
Mhm.
I know Gabe has his center stage, or right next to the center stage has Herbie parked there, and people take
Yep.
photos in front of it. And all of our families are out there walking as teams. And in some ways, that is actually a beautiful thing. Even though we know the reason we're out there for is from some pain and calamity, but it's actually encouraging to know that other people are standing up and walking in memory of people,
Yeah.
and also trying to prevent it from being somebody else's experience, the loss. You know?
You know, one thing I want to say about the AFSP walk is, so I used to work at a psychiatric hospital. That's part of the other reason why I'm interested in suicide prevention. And I'll never forget, I was running a group one day, and a young woman with bipolar disorder said, you know, I always was convinced that I was alone in how I felt, and I had to get locked up here to look around and realize, and she was in a room of 20 or so other patients, I had to come here to realize that I wasn't alone. And to me, the AFSP walk is just that kind of feeling magnified by thousands, this feeling of isolation, and that, you know, no one could possibly understand what I'm going through. That myth really gets exploded when you go to this walk and you see
All the people.
thousands of people impacted by loss, and everyone's loss is different, of course, but we are all unified by that thing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty incredible to behold, I think.
Mhm.
It is. And it kind of goes to what Yolanda was saying earlier about like her experience. It makes me think about the discussion becoming normal, where it's not a bad thing to go check on your mental health. Like if you have a physical wound, you're going to go get it taken care of, whether that's from medication or surgery, whatever type of attention you need, you're going to deal with it. You're not just going to pray it off. But normalizing the discussions with therapists, normalizing whatever means you have to do or go through in order to reach a healthy place.
Mhm.
So even seeing those people all together kind of makes it normal. Like my pain, although it's unique to me, like I lost a brother, Yolanda and Danette, you lost sons, and like everyone's relationship, even Danette's relationship with her son and Yolanda's with her son, they're different. They're two different human beings. And I lost a brother, but my brother, being the same human, was a different relationship to his daughter and to my mother. So the loss is different for all of us, but it is a better feeling to know you're not alone in it.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. Just to have the support. I unfortunately talked to a friend today who lost her son back in February.
Oh no.
And, you know, and she told me today, she said, Danette, I've never been able to come to the walk to support you because I feared I would be in your shoes. And
Wow.
now she is. And, you know, we talked about, and when I called her, she said, you know, I can say things to you that I know you understand.
Mhm.
And I think that's it, the support of having those others that really get it and have the feel, you know. So it is a good support, and I think that we all have to look out for each other, you know. And unfortunately, we keep hearing about them. You know, this was another young man, you know. So,
but can I just ask you a question about that, Danette? Like, you know, so you have this loss, this like unutterable loss, and was it 5 years now?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so now, on top of that, you carry with you other people's loss and other
Mm-hmm.
people's tragedy, and people go to you because
Mm-hmm.
they say, this is a woman who can hold my pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? Do you ever just not want to pick up the phone? Like, do you ever just want to like go to Bermuda and like hide?
Well, yeah.
Well, no, I'm now especially, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how do you deal with knowing the phone is ringing and knowing what it's about? And just, are there times when you're just like, I just don't want to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
how do you work past that? And what is that like for you?
I think there's definitely those times, but it helps me to give to others. And in that I learn, and no matter what, it supports me as well. I mean, this conversation today was not all about her. I mean, I got to talk about Trent. We shared things, you know, what do you do about this? What do you do about that? So it's another way for me to talk about Trent's life, Trent's personality. So because, you know, again, I'm 6 years out. I mean, you know, we're in our 6th year and I don't get to do it as much. And so in one respect, it's a way for me to talk about him again, because as you guys all know, everybody's uncomfortable, you know, but you know, I have my daughter and they all want to ask about the daughter, but not talk about the one that's not here, you know, and which is beautiful that I can talk about my daughter, but you want to say the name, you want to say Trent's name, you want to say Elijah's name, you want to say, you know, all these names. And so yes, Gabe, there are times it's very hard, but at other times I feel like I can give, and that makes me feel better. But it also is a gift to me to be able to share and talk about my boy.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not a mother, but I think about like the way a woman has to go through the periods of birthing a child. You have to carry the child for a long time. You have to go through the birthing, like pushing the child out, which is in a lot of ways painful, but it's a gift. And as you were just talking about the responsibility of being someone who's identified with that pain, it comes with the price, but there's life you're giving in those conversations. Yeah, and you're keeping a legacy alive. Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys all feel this. I mean, one of my big fears when he died is he was going to be forgotten.
Never.
And I look at this panel here, and every single one of you, including us, you know, as we're remembering Gabe's aunt, remembering her son, remembering your brother. I mean, I think that's one beautiful thing that we're doing, and it's hard. And I know all of us have our struggles, and there's days, you know, we didn't get to have our play day a couple weeks ago, and I missed it. But I will say it's a very hard day. It's a very hard day. It's a very long day. And it's hard. But I also feel, I keep telling myself, you know, we get to talk about Trent, he's remembered, and hopefully we're helping other families and other people in the community, just like Yolanda said, let's talk about this. Let's get rid of the stigma. Let's realize this is real, and don't be ashamed, you know, and you know, like I said earlier, you know, we talked to our children about all those other things, but didn't realize we had to talk about that. And I think that needs to change for these young parents.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Yolanda, to you, this is kind of a similar question to the one that I asked Annette, but I was sitting in my bug in Manhattan, I guess it was May 20th or 21st, and it was like 85 degrees and the car doesn't have air conditioning. And I had just had an interview totally blow up in my face. It was a veteran who had been, he had hit an IED in Fallujah, and he had to have like 40 different surgeries to reconstruct his face and different body parts. And a friend of mine in Manhattan told him I was doing this project, and he flew from California to be interviewed by me. And the interview was absolutely terrible, and I couldn't use it. And he refused to sign a release, and he was very angry at me. He expected a big film crew to show up, and it was just me and my bug and these little cameras. So it was awful. And that next morning when I was leaving Manhattan, I looked in the camera and I said, "This sucks. And I don't want to do this anymore." And I guess my question to you is, did you have a moment while you were creating Finding Elijah where you were just like, I just don't want to do this? How did you push past that, if that happened?
I think for me, there was a moment in post-production that was really difficult for me. Throughout my film, we use text. Sometimes we use text. And there was just flowing with the story. And at one point, we were typing that Elijah was found in a hotel. And I didn't want to see those words. I didn't want to see that on the screen. It was like, I don't know if I can see that every time we do editing. Like, I have to keep looking at, it was, I had to, I guess what I say, I have to put my producer's hat on, keep my director's hat on. Sometimes my mom would, show up and I was like, wait, put your director's hat back on, because I would get, I don't know how to explain it, but even though the story subject matter was about my son, when I had my producer director's hat on, it was work. It was, I have something that I'm trying to do here. So let me focus on getting that done. But ever so often, the story would affect me. The subject matter would get me. And I'm like, okay. So sometimes I would have to take a few minutes. Other times I would just remind myself, just put your producer's hat back on. You're doing fine. You're doing okay. And just keep going. It was the 2-year process of making the short film was like therapy. It was like, how do I say? I bathed myself in my son for 2 years, because I think what I said in the film was I just couldn't wake up the next morning and be okay. Like, I was angry. I was like, I had to do something, and just he and I always talking about doing a film together. And, I was like, well, this wasn't the film I wanted to do with you, but if this is the film we have to do, let's do it. So
it's a beautiful film. Thank
you. I try to use his original art, his writings, his videos to give him a voice, so in a way he was helping me tell the story. Yeah.
And I love it too. It's beautiful because it's, he's more than how he died. He had a life, and he was artistic, and, all those wonderful things. And it really shows up on that film. Like, I feel like I got to know him, and he's adorable. Yeah. Yeah. And, you realize real person, lots of, personality and dreams and all that. Yeah.
Did you hear that quote?
Go ahead, Ishan. Sorry.
Did you hear what she just said? He's
what?
More than how he died. Like, that might be one of the most powerful things I ever heard.
Yeah.
Our lives, like, really, they tell a story. That's really special. I'm sorry, Gabe, you got it.
No, the only thing I wanted to say is one of my huge frustrations about the suicide prevention community is I feel we focus way too much on stats and numbers. Well, the CDC just came out with their report, numbers for 2018, 48,344. I can tell off the top of my head, I'm not looking at anything.
Yeah.
123 per day. It isn't. These are people.
These are people.
These are human beings. And yeah, you got to know the numbers. Okay, you know, that's important. But I think what you're doing through through Trent's day and through finding Elijah and all of these things are keeping the person present. And in one sense, it's an awesome responsibility. But it's also so incredibly important that we don't lose sight of that, because numbers are just numbers.
Yeah.
So I mean, I just think what you're doing is just so incredibly important and very, very powerful, because it's the human aspect of this that I think really moves people. So thank you.
Your sons will live forever. I know that it's more recent for you than my own brother's death, but I do know that the healing process, I believe when I first met you, Yolanda, like we were talking about the healing process, and it never goes away. My brother died 13 years ago from this upcoming August. It never goes away, but you get to see more purpose in your own Trent in his memory. And you're going to see that even more and more. And I also want to, in some ways, solicit and encourage people who are watching this to support people who are doing these types of things, even if it's just by your viewership. If you could watch a film about someone else's story that could perhaps provide you with some hope, but also provide you with some resources so that you could encourage other people. I believe watching your film gave me more insight of what my mom's experience was without having to see it through my lens of this is my mother and our son. I got a chance to see it through your eyes. And then the same thing with you, Danette. I hope that people watching this would support the things that you all are doing. I know the nonprofit paperwork for your organization are not established yet for people to fully support. But if there's anyone out there who wants to support her, please follow her page, follow her family. They're doing incredible things. And if you know someone who perhaps can be an athlete in something that they're doing, or provide burgers and whatever for the event, you know what I mean? Or whatever, just support in that way. And for you, Yolanda, I hope that people can get behind your project, because I know one of the things in communicating with you is you have a dream to have a distribution deal with your film, and I've seen it and I know that it's excellent. And I'm not saying that just because the cause is close to me, but in a production capacity, it's excellent. So I think that people should support it, and I believe that it'll help other people. I don't know what it'll help them to feel, but I know that it's beneficial. I know that it's going to be good. So if people are out there, when this video is going on, I'm going to show a clip of it and give people a taste of it. But also I hope that people would donate to your cause. I'm going to post on here some information so people can send cash donations to you. And over the years, I believe and I hope that we can be supportive to you so that film can be seen by more people. It should be. It absolutely should be. And your sons will live forever. Their legacies their life on this earth walked away, but their lives live forever. I can't even get the words out, but
Gotcha.
they live forever. Yeah, they live forever.
Well, one comment I'd like to make, you made a comment about supporting each other, and it's 13 years for you, and seeing just like your shirt, hope. And I would say that to people that are new to this or even very far into this is there is hope. And like, I'm looking at this screen with the four of us up there, and it's like, I wouldn't have known you and I wouldn't have known you, and, not that it's like, oh, I'll take that over that, but it's still a blessing. So I can't change what has happened, and I have to move forward, but I do see these blessings, and you guys are all part of it. And I think together we can do some really good stuff and help others to realize that life can go on. It looks different. And there's good days and there's bad days. Absolutely. But it helps to have the support of one another too.
Absolutely.
And one thing I want to say about that too, for those who are living either with a family member or with, close friends for whom perhaps suicide is still a curse word or a taboo subject, or something that is weighed down with shame or stigma, whether it's because of a religious belief or a cultural belief, I still believe that there is hope for that too. Minds change. And I have observed this in my own family. The analogy that I use is the iceberg melts. It may melt a fraction of an inch a year, but it does melt. And perspectives and views can change. It took me 15 years to be able to talk to my father about his sister. But it happened. And I'm still kind of shocked by it and by how positive and how warm it was. And it was definitely hopeful and helpful for me. And I hope it was for him too. And it's enabled us to have conversations after that. My mother is coming along slower, but that iceberg is melting too. So there is all kinds of hope. And I think the more we talk about this stuff and the more we normalize it, Ishan, to your point, it doesn't have to be this aberrant, strange, horrible, awful. Well, it is horrible, but it doesn't have to be this unspeakable thing. I think when things are unspeakable, then they're unmanageable. And they're like, we don't even know what to say or where to start or what to do. Talk. Keep talking. And people will listen. People will come around.
Yeah.
Keep paying attention. I think one of the things that I've benefited from over the last year are all the relationships that I've gained, like you said, in memory of our lost loved ones. We've connected with other people who share similar experiences. I know you all now because of this. But I also feel like I've gained some more motherly love. My mother loves me incredibly, but I also now, you two check on me regularly, and you don't have any idea how, like, the timing. I was going through some significant grief in the beginning of the year, and then like last fall, and Annette, you would just randomly text me like something or inbox me a message, and you have no idea how at that moment of despair, somebody thinking about you resonated. You know what I'm saying? And
that's great.
Like those are the positive sides of it, but also want to make sure we're aware, like the energy we give off can hurt someone in those ways too. If we walk down the street and aren't considerate of other people's feelings, their interests, their journeys, all of that, even if there's judgment on it, just be considered that every single person carrying something. And a loss for them is still a loss for them. If a millionaire loses $500,000, it's still a loss to him. Where to us, we'd be like, man, I wish I had $500,000 to, you know what I mean? But it's still in perspective. So being mindful of everyone's journey and everyone's perspective being different, I think is important. But I think that it's a beautiful thing when you can walk in love and compassion. And I don't believe any of us are at fault for the losses that we've experienced, but I do know that those losses have made us more compassionate people. They've made us more sensitive to the interests of other people. And I appreciate y'all for that. I wanted to celebrate y'all tonight because I really have seen you all and loved you all. And I see, like, when you walk, the way you live, you walk in love. You can't, someone told me this term, wounded healers. That's what y'all are. Yeah. And that's what most of us are when we carry things, but it's a choice to give out that healing while you're wounded.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never heard that. I like that. I'm writing it down.
Too, right?
Write down the other thing you said. That thing was incredible. I forgot it now, but it was really crazy. I got this is recorded though, so I'll find it.
There we go.
It's on it's on there.
There you go. Their life is more than how they died. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You see this painting behind me?
Yeah.
So that's my brother at one of the meetings we had at the library. Someone was painting it, and I remember I just broke out in tears while he was painting, and I said, "You brought my brother back to life." And
Wow.
like that's just from seeing his likeness. Your film brings Elijah back to life. Your play day keeps running across the field playing lacrosse.
Yeah. Yeah.
The love bug keeps hope driving across the country.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We all of us are going one day, but we all get to leave an impact. And I would only hope that my life leaves an impact like my brother did. And we could all hope that our lives leave the impact that those people we've lost, who were lovely people, left on us.
Yeah.
And we're now being able to give that love out to the world. It's a beautiful thing in many ways.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So it's May 6th. And so Mother's Day is coming up.
Yeah.
What is it like to experience that? Is it this thing that you see on the calendar and when you turn it to May and you're like, oh my God, or it must change 1,000 times a day. Like, what is that like? If there's any way to even describe it.
You want to go first, Yolanda?
Oh, this past Sunday was International Bereaved Mother's Day. It's always the Sunday before Mother's Day. And it's just, and you know, I never really, I thought about it differently this year, you know, thinking about losing my mom when I was 25, losing a daughter when I was 21. I've spent the last 20-something Christmases I go in my room for like 3 or 4 hours and I just cry, you know, while I was in a home with all boys. So they're downstairs playing video games and I'm in my room crying for 4 hours, you know, and I thought about it when I saw that International Bereaved Mother's Day happen this past Sunday. And I said, you know, I will never forget Elijah or my daughter, Deandra. Right? And I said, you know, is it fair to my living children that I'm not totally present at certain times? And when I saw that International Bereaved Mother's Day, it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was like, you know, take this day and have Mother's Day with yourself and your children that you do not have anymore, that are no longer here with you. And when Mother's Day comes up, be present with your children that are still here. So I'm still working through navigating through this space, you know, and my daughter has been gone for 20-something, 30, she's been 31 this year, you know, so every year, you know, I grieve for her. Every birthday, Mother's Day, every Christmas, I grieve for my daughter, you know. So now I've added Elijah. So now every birthday of his, every Christmas, you know, every Mother's Day. It's like, you know, I'm learning to maybe that there can be, I can be okay, you know, maybe I can be okay, you know, but I have to give myself permission. Mm-hmm. That's the thing for me, because, you know, when you lose someone close to you, for me, it was so difficult for me to smile, to enjoy a happy thought, because I would always remember, well, they're not here anymore. They can't, you know, and I would feel bad for enjoying myself. So I'm still learning, you know, but I do know after losing my mom and my daughter and Elijah and my dad, you know, it's okay for me to be happy. It's okay. It's okay for me to be happy. They would want me to be happy.
Amen.
You know, so I'm working on that. It's not the easiest thing for me, but I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Process.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautifully said. I would agree with a lot of that. Most of it, actually. About last Saturday, I ran into an old, a middle school friend of Trent's, the mother. And she actually told me, you know, I think about you often, and your son got my son through middle school because my son struggled.
Wow.
And I didn't really know that. And it kind of set me off. And I've really been feeling really low this week and missing him and knowing Mother's Day's coming. And so, kind of like you, I feel like I'm learning just to be in it. That's okay. You know, I'm sad. That kind of threw me back hearing her talk about Trent and her son. And I'm sad. It's sometimes too, I have found with any event, birthdays, Mother's Day, Christmas, it's almost the leading up that can be worse. And then the day you're like, okay, because it's almost like you've taken that week to grieve or be mellow or wallow in it. I love that word, wallow.
Yes.
And I am fortunate I have my mom. So I'm looking forward. I get to spend distance with my mom. I'm going to go down to her house. We'll sit outside, and I have my daughter. So I will have joy that day. And I feel like it'll be fine because I've taken this week to grieve and to be mellow and to be sad. Yeah. And it doesn't go away. No. And as everybody with loss knows, it can hit you at the weirdest times too. And it's a song, it's a flower, it's a smell, it's a whatever. So it's not linear grief at all.
Yeah. So. It's a mother's love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have someone I'm sure is watching this at some point. I'm not sure if she's going to watch it tonight, but I spoke to a woman yesterday. I'm not going to say her name, but she actually was expressing to me that she's concerned about her daughter because her daughter's been talking about not wanting to live. And Gabe, you actually touched on this a little bit about people coming to you because I guess they feel like you're an expert. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
there's a beautiful.
There's no such thing, but people do see me that way, I think. But yes.
Well, one of the good things about it is that we have been more aware, and AFSP does a great job of this, of teaching people warning signs, doing their Talk Save Lives and other types of training that they do. So being prepared, it's like we got hit and we're able to tell the people, watch out for that mine over there so you don't have to blow up over it or whatever. You don't have to get shot going down that street. So I found myself challenged with trying to tell her things, but I had to tell her what my experience was like, but also as a mother, what would you say, or do you have anything you would say to a mother right now? Her daughter, I believe, is 21. Is there anything you would say to encourage a woman right now who's concerned about her daughter taking her life? Is there anything you would say to that young lady?
Well, can I start?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I'm sorry.
No, I would first of all strongly advise this woman who's concerned about her daughter, or anybody who is concerned about anybody, and particularly in the COVID-19 world, because we're all, except for whoever is in your sort of quarantine pod, we're all kind of out there. Please be very observant of any change in behavior. This is one of the biggest indicators of suicidal thought is change in behavior. Whatever is sort of, quote, normal for that person, if you see a deviation from that, so for instance, on social media, take me for example, I do a reading on Facebook Live every single day, okay? Since this all started, maybe 5 weeks ago, I started this. Every day. If a couple days go by and I haven't done my reading, someone should be checking in on me to see if I'm okay, because that would be a change in my behavior. If you're noticing an increase in irritability from someone, if you're noticing someone starting to give away stuff, if you're noticing somebody starting to increase talk about suicide, you need to be checking in on that person and specifically ask them, are you thinking about killing yourself? Look directly into their eye if you're in the same area as them. And if not, you need to video chat them so you can see them and ask them. And if the answer is yes, you need to know, do they have a plan? How are they thinking about doing this? When are they thinking about doing it? And then you need to take action. In many counties, there's mobile crisis units. There's the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. If you are physically in the same space as that person, you don't leave them alone. But the number one thing to do is ask. If you are concerned about someone, ask. I had an incident maybe 3 weeks ago where someone posted something on Facebook that said, if I have wronged anybody, I want to make amends right now. I want you to reach out to me. And this individual posted their phone number. And I was like, whoa. So I reached out immediately to this person and I said, hey, I'm concerned about what you just posted. Are you having thoughts of killing yourself? I also happen to know that this person has a past history of suicidal thoughts. So it was one on top of the other that just pushed me over the edge of concern for this person. But I probably would have reached out to them anyway, just seeing that. And he responded and said, listen, I'm really moved and touched that you reached out to me. I'm okay. But in the COVID-19 world, I don't know if I'm going to get sick. I don't know if I'm going to have a chance, another chance to make amends. So the world is on its head right now. And some very typical, some of those stock warning signs that we look for are now maybe not so unusual behaviors for people in the COVID-19 world. You still need to check in on people. If something is kind of raising that hair on the back of your neck, it's there for a reason. My wife just shaved mine off, but it's still there a little bit. You need to act. You need to act on something. If something feels hinky, ask. And I'm going to tell you the truth. Nobody's going to be pissed off at you for checking in on them. Yeah. They'll be grateful. And if the answer is no, great. The answer is no. You ask anyway.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah. Especially right now, the mental health right now it's probably more fragile than it's ever been with the COVID. Yeah. Were you about to say something, Yolanda?
No, just listening.
Could I transition into showing a clip of your film right now? Would you like that? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah, it's a film. It's a short film about my short film.
Right.
Yeah. So there's some clips of my film in this short film that we're about to watch.
Okay. Gabe, would you like to set this up? This was done through your organization, correct?
So, right. So OC87 Recovery Diaries, in partnership with Fresh Fly Films, made this film about Yolanda's film. The film that you're about to see is called The Reluctant Filmmaker. And it is directed by Glenn Holston and produced and released by OC87 Recovery Diaries. And I'm really, really glad that you're sharing it today.
Thank you. We were invited to come and collect his belongings at the shelter that he was staying at. And I remember thinking, I want to touch the doorknobs he touched. I want to walk the streets he walked. I want to push the elevator buttons he pushed. I want to hug the people that helped him. And I need to capture this. I need it. And I said, film everything. I said, film everything. Elijah was very creative, smart, funny. He shared my dark humor, though I have a really wicked sense of humor. He shared that. And he was a filmmaker. He'd enjoyed movies since he was a little boy, and he was a student at the Art Institute. I remember saying to him, whatever's wrong, let's talk about it. You just talk about it. What's wrong? Why don't you want to talk? Maybe you could talk a little bit about what your experience is with being a Black man, having mental health challenges, and working through that.
You know, even when I hear you say, you know, your son was struggling with things, you know, me personally, I don't look at it as a struggle, right? Because, you know, I'm living with these issues. In my eyes, he was living with these issues and doing a hell of a job. But again, the journey hasn't been easy. They say it takes 10+ years for somebody to really work on their mental health. For men, I suspect that it's longer, especially men of color. Because again, we look at the various stressors, the factors that influence our mental health, right? We're talking about resources. We're talking about seeing people that look like you getting killed. We're talking about poor educational systems. It's so many factors, but again, we're still expected to perform.
Elijah turned 20 when he left. He checked himself into a mental crisis unit, and he disappeared that same day. On June 8th, I opened the front door to retrieve the mail, and this was in the door. Picked it up, I'm looking at it, and the only thing I could see was NYPD and Elijah Young. He passed away about 2 weeks before his 21st birthday. I miss that boy so much. You know, I miss him so much. I cannot understand why he didn't talk to us. How do you encourage another family member to get the help? Because a lot of our men don't want to go and get help.
A lot of times we've taught our young men to man up, to show no emotion, or you are a punk if you cry, or, you know, get over it, snap out of it. This is the stuff that we tell our young men, that crying is a sign of weakness. But you know what I tell young men? That is a part of your natural being, to show emotion. And so we need to begin to talk about mental health at the kitchen table. We need to ask questions like, how are you feeling today? We need to even, you know, stop saying to our young people, what's wrong with you? We need to ask them what has happened to you. Because nothing may be wrong with them. Something may have happened to them.
My goal with the film is to not only share Elijah, but I want to give resources and options and ideas for people who are in my situation or can see a little glimmer of something in their situation, like, okay, well, maybe I should try this.
So one thing is, we need to recognize everything is a sign. It's not attention. Sometimes we say, oh, they just want attention. They're just saying it because they want attention. No, when they start isolating themselves, that's a sign. We need to ask the tough questions. It should be open, honest conversation.
I'm learning to be responsible for the energy that I bring into the room, and I don't want to be sad all the time around everyone. I don't want to bring everyone down all the time, but most of the time I am sad and I am down. And most of the time when you see me happy and smiling, I'm doing double time to push the thoughts of my son out of my mind so I'm not sad all the time. And I don't want to have to push him out of my mind not to be sad, so I'm trying to figure out how. I'm learning now how to be open to receive and give, you know, because when you're closed, you can't get and you can't give. And I'm realizing that I have something to offer as well. When everything happened with Elijah, I didn't want anybody to know. I was just like, but then it was like, because then you're gonna hold all of that in. That's gonna be in you. You gotta let it out. So, letting it out.
The film clip you just saw was from Yolanda's Finding Elijah, the movie, and it was edited and put through the OC87 initiative, I guess we call it. What is it, Gabe?
Yeah, OC87 Recovery Diaries. Yep.
Okay.
So that film, along with, I guess, 60 or 70 other short documentary films are on our website. They're all free for anyone can watch them.
Okay. Well, that's beautiful. And I also encourage everyone out there, if you can, support it when it comes out. I hope that it hits like Netflix or Hulu or something, YouTube, whatever.
That'd be nice.
Some format where it can be supported, and so it can be taken seriously, because it is a serious film. It's serious in its quality, not just being a heavy topic. It's actually a beautiful story, and it's put together very well. Going forward, I guess the new normal we keep hearing about is upon us right now. When we come out of this next year, I hope that we get to see next April and have Trent's Play Day, right?
Yeah.
That's usually the third week of April.
We actually have a date. I think it's the 21st of April.
Okay.
Yeah, third Saturday.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we have that. I believe the AFSP walk, which is scheduled usually in October. I think I saw something. It's going to be the virtual walk this year.
Oh,
That's the overnight. I don't know if they've made a decision about Philadelphia yet, but it's October 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, October 4th.
Okay. So the overnight one is the one in the summertime?
Correct.
Okay.
So that's virtual.
Okay. Yeah, so hopefully if there's anyone out there, I hope that you heard something that could be encouraging. First of all, lives matter. A mother's love never goes away. I hope that everyone realizes that there's probably someone watching this who shares a similar experience to one of us on here. I thought that it was a great thing to have 4 different demographics reached here. You have every part of life reached here, even our losses. You have mother, son, you have relationship between aunts and nephews, you have brothers. You have different racial and different gender things going on as well.
Yeah.
Suicide has no discrimination. Mental health impacts all of us. You know what I mean? Whether you're old, young, rich, happy, sad, whatever.
Yeah.
There's some people, pretty sure most people have heard about Robin Williams. He looks like the happiest person in the world, but inside there's different things going on. And I can't take for granted that people may be watching this who have not seen a previous episode, but there's people who have the responsibility of leading people, whether it's a pastor, the guy who was in charge of the counseling and therapy department at the University of Penn took his life last year. And both of these men actually took their lives on September 9th, which was the beginning of Suicide Prevention Week or Suicide Awareness Week.
Wow.
You had 2 men who were mental health advocates take their lives. Can't take for granted that people who are in positions of leadership also need help and that they wrestle with things. Wealthy people take their lives, poor people take their lives, people who are healthy take their lives, people who are not, you know what I mean? But also people live with all those things. So the hope for all of this is that we actually hold on to hope. We hope that people realize, like, although there's bad things going on sometimes, there's something good going on also. And if you count your blessings, if you count them, they add up to something. They count up to a reason to live for. And I'm grateful because I've been on death's door and I had other people help me to remember when my mind couldn't process things. I would encourage people, if you're wrestling with anything, to seek therapy. Open your mouth and speak to someone. If you can't go to a therapist, just open your mouth and tell somebody exactly how you're feeling. Don't feel bad about medication. I had my own reservations for it before, but I actually found that to be the one thing that actually got through and made me realize, like, all these years, the seesaw was unbalanced going on in my head. So no therapy, no prayer, nothing was going to do that for me. But I had to actually have those things working in concert with the medication. There's many things that help us. Go for walks, get a little sunlight in your life.
Yep.
You know, cry if you must. There's actually something refreshing in crying, right? Yeah. Eat a bowl of ice cream if you must. Whatever. But and is there anything else you all would like to just give, like a token of things that may have been working for you during this isolation, this social distancing, this quarantine, whatever, that somebody else can hold on to right now while we're all in the same boat?
I think for me, I'm noticing literally
Oh, yeah.
how the leaves were folding on the trees, and like we're all crazy, and this is very unsettling, but I've tried to find the beauty that's really here, that's been here all along. It's just we haven't taken the time, and I do feel this is a big step to say, stand back and just kind of be and see the beauty that you have.
Yeah. Yolanda, you got anything?
Just don't give up, and you have purpose. You know, you have a purpose here.
Yeah.
You know, just and I know that a lot of people are saying, oh, learn a language, learn of this, learn of that. If all you can do is survive every day, then do that.
Yeah.
You know,
I
just
agree.
do that.
No more pressure on yourself.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day at a time.
Yeah. Gabe, you got any last words you want to leave us with, bro?
Well, two things. First is related to what you were talking about, Ishan, about how suicide can come for anyone, and I think that bears repeating. Nobody has a bulletproof vest from this, so we all carry risk factors and we all carry protective factors, and it can happen to anyone. The flip side of that is, if suicide can happen to anyone can also prevent a suicide. And so we can all be aware of warning signs and risk factors, and we can all look after one another, because that's part of the reason we're here, is to notice one another and take care of one another. It's so important. And we can do that even if we can't be physically close to each other. So everyone wants to poo-poo on technology, but I'm really glad that it's here, because we can do stuff like this, and we can send text messages to each other, and Facebook messages, and Instagram direct messages. And there's so many different ways to say, are you doing okay? So let's do that. So that's one thing I want to say. And the last thing, kind of about getting through the day in the COVID-19 era, I'm still really curious about what tomorrow has in store for me. I'm really curious about what my coffee is going to taste like, because I make it differently every day, not intentionally. It just comes out tasting different every day, but I like that. So I'm curious about that, and I'm curious about what emails are going to show up in my inbox, and who am I going to reach out to today? And I like knowing that tomorrow's coming. And I don't want to bullshit anyone and say it's going to be great, but I am curious about it. So hold on to tomorrow, and something interesting is going to happen to you. And if it doesn't, make it happen. That's what I got.
Right. And Ishan, I just have to say, you do good work. So glad to know you. Thank you for putting this together. You're doing a lot of good, and obviously people like watching you because you've got followers.
Thank you.
And I'm sure it's got to be a struggle sometimes, but we support you, and I'm very proud of you. Keep it up.
A friend of mine told me about this thing, an organization I believe in Baltimore called Leaders of a Beautiful Struggle. And that's what all of us are in some ways. So I appreciate you for what you just said, but it's part of a beautiful, I don't want to call it burden. It's a responsibility. In a lot of ways, it's like motherhood. You know what I mean? Like, you go through process of rearing and giving birth and carrying 9 months, pushing a baby out, raising that child. And that may be pain, or that may be responsibility. It may be heavy, but it's rewarding. And there's a reward in being able to give life. And I feel like the types of things you all are doing, and the types of things that God has allowed me to be involved with, they give life. And those are the things that we have a hand in, is giving ourselves a chance to live. And if there's anyone watching who finds yourself, even with hearing all of this, still feeling like you don't have a reason to be around, please give yourself 3 days. Give yourself 3 days. If you can't say I can't make it to the end of this year. I can't make it through this pandemic. Give yourself 3 days. And then give yourself another 3. Just give yourself that one step. And I promise you, you won't feel the same way. And I'm saying that as someone who has been on death's door a few times in my life, and not that long ago. And there were moments where I felt like I can't live. I don't want to live. And God has allowed people, he has allowed scripture, songs, food, experiences just help me get through that day so that I could actually say, dang, I can't believe I wanted to do that. But I know when I was in that, I didn't want to live. So I just encourage everyone, get through the day you're in. And tomorrow, like Gabe said, be curious about it, not worried about it. Be curious. Yeah. There's something hopeful in tomorrow. There's something maybe painful in today, but there's something hopeful in tomorrow. Yeah. And that's for any people of faith or anything. We're all hoping for tomorrow. Whether you believe in God or not, you're hoping for something. Yeah. Right? That's so right. I encourage everyone to support these organizations, these initiatives. Check out OC87. They're on Facebook. They also have a website. I'm going to put the information up here in a few seconds. Support Trent's Play Day, Trent Stetler Play Day, and support the Finding Elijah, the movie. AFSP.org has some wonderful resources. Does anyone know the suicide hotline telephone number off the top?
Sure do. 1-800-273-8255 or text HOME to 741-741. That's the crisis text line. And a quick PSA, there's a lot of stuff online about how the Lifeline is moving to a 3-digit number, which is 988. That's great, but that has not happened yet. So the number is 1-800-273-8255. Calls to 988 will not be answered yet. It's going to be like a year-long process for that change to take place. People need to know that.
Yeah.
That's good information.
Thank you all, Danette, Gabe, Yolanda. I appreciate you. And thank your families for loaning you to us tonight. All right. Well, thank you. Love Bug. Tell Herbie we said thanks for loaning you to us.
I'm going to give him a hug tomorrow for you. I don't have to be socially distant from him.
Yeah, that's right.
As we fade out, I'm going to put up some resources, a page with some resources if people want to see it written out. And also want to encourage people to come back next Wednesday for another edition of Wellness Wednesday. We'll be having a focused discussion on creative and performing arts. We'll be joined by a poet by the name of Julian Flamer. We'll be joined by my niece, Jordan Hines, and also a phenomenal singer and painter, Rachel Klein. We're going to have a discussion about how creative and performing arts also are a way of us expressing ourselves, healing, hurting, all kinds of things, but getting it out of our system and creating beauty out of some of our experiences. So join us again. That'll be next Wednesday, May the 13th, Wellness Wednesday. I hope everyone out there is having a peaceful night. God bless you, and thank you for your support. Everyone have a peaceful night.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Reaping them the same way with storm clouds and rainy days, and some saints say that I'm a lost cause. Ignoring them, well, that part's hard. I caught scars from opinions of people and faith fights where the venom is lethal like snake bites to the main vein. I hate my life, I'm trying to maintain, but things change and some pain came. Not to mention put a strain on my brain, so thoughts cloudy though I fought proudly. But doubt doesn't whisper, it talks loudly. I'm throwing in the towel, I tried and I failed, but Jesus said, don't you know that by my stripes you are healed? Alright, healing is a process, so I guess that I'll trust you.